And welcome to the Heated Podcast, ladies and gentlemen, where we educate you on heated topics. My name is Jack Clark, and I'm here with my co-host, Daniel.
What's going on, guys? And Daniel, brought to you by GZ Radio. Welcome to Heated. I'm brought to you by Heated. I'm brought to you by GZ Radio. Me.
Are brought to you by Heated.
Today we're in a little bit of a different studio. We're actually inside the heart of Seattle. We're in the Viera Project, where GZ Radio... What would you call it? Like it's their
hosts
main,
us.
Hosts. This is like their main building.
Like
we're in their studio. That's
English
what
is a hard language.
I don't like English, me personally. But
Yeah,
that's not today's topic. Jack,
okay.
what's today's topic?
All right. Today we are discussing teachers and specifically minority teachers on the east side. And the perfect example of that is our good old buddy, old pal, but someone that we respect very much, Mr. Sherman Hutcherson.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on?
I was just putting chapstick on.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to look good for the camera.
Thank you.
No.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We're
I had so much time to do it beforehand, and I was like, my lips are a little chapped.
We're on his
do it now.
podcast.
No, that's completely fine because this is your time to shine.
This is your time.
Yeah.
This is your time.
This is where I break out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Hutcherson, you want to introduce yourself to a little bit to the audience?
Yeah, I'm Sherman Hutcherson. I'm 28 years old.
Old. Very.
Well, most of your listeners are probably 40s plus. So I'm a young buck for them. I am half German, half black. I have been teaching now. This is my 5th year.
Okay.
You know, I went to Washington State University to get my bachelor's, and then I went to Seattle Pacific University to get my master's in education. So,
Nice.
you know, born and raised here, grew up in Redmond,
Nice.
stuck around.
Stuck around.
Stuck around.
I'm a history teacher. I'm not an English teacher.
It's okay.
That's why we didn't learn from the best. That's why our English is terrible.
Did you go to Wazoo for education as well, Hutchie?
Ooh, yeah, a little bit of both. I mean, like I got accepted into all the colleges that I applied for. So like I got accepted into Oregon, into Seattle Pacific University, Wazoo, Boise State, Oregon State. But Wazoo wanted me to come play football. So I chose Wazoo just for football purposes. It was a little bit easier to get there. My mom's side is all from they all went to Wazoo. My sisters went to Wazoo. So it was kind of a easier pick. I've been a Kook fan.
So it was like kind of like in the family?
Yeah, I was in the family, and then I was like, well, I could play football there, and they want me, and I don't have to try out or anything like that. So let's do that.
My folks were the same way. Met at Wazoo, are Coug fans.
It's a great place.
It's a great time.
30. I think it's 35,000 people live in the city of Pullman, and there's like 32,000 students. So it's like it's a whole city of college kids running it. Like we're running it. We run the restaurants and stuff, and it's like this doesn't seem safe. Where's the FDA? Who's watching over this right now?
Well, Hutcherson, again, thank you for being here.
Of
course, like we mentioned earlier, today's topic is about being a minority teacher and more specific, you being a black teacher here on the east side. So we have a couple questions for you. I guess since it's on topic, the first question would be, what compelled you to be a teacher? And well, you've already answered how long you've been teaching. What compelled you? Like, why a teacher over continuing playing football?
Continue playing over football. That's an easy one. I just wasn't good enough. No, you can tell it's kind of weird with football, especially when you go D1. I was a little afraid when I first got there. I was like, oh, I'm not going to be good enough, and people are going to be way better. Once I got there, I was like, no, I can actually play with these guys. Like, it's not that bad. It's actually not that huge of a jump as I thought it would be. But from college to the NFL is like, oh, you see guys and you're like, that is an NFL guy.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, that guy is going. And like, they are like head and shoulders over the rest. And so it was just kind of one of those things where my dad passed away when I was in college, and that kind of took the wind out of my sails for football. He was the reason I played a lot of it. And I had promised him that I would play at least another year. And so I played another year and hurt my knee. Had knee surgery, and I was like, it's just not it.
What was it cutting out?
We'll just kind of cut it. So that's the reason I didn't like. That's why I chose teaching over. But like with teaching, it's kind of a twofold. I was talking to you a little bit earlier about it, right? I chose my job thinking about like what I enjoyed doing. So I didn't try to go out and say like what occupations excite me, but it was more like, what do I enjoy doing just in my day to day? So it's like, I like talking to people.
Right.
I don't like sitting down for a long time and like not seeing people or doing my own work. I like working with other people. I do like control over my own time. And so like being able to do that is kind of important to me in my work. And then I liked working with younger kids. I did it with football and sports and at my church. And so with that, like I kind of had that guideline and I was like, so what fits in there? And so like, I was like, maybe like psychiatry, maybe be a psychologist. That would be cool. Then I took a class in college. I was like, that's not for me, dog. And so I was like, well, like teaching school. I like teaching, like sounds like a fun time. And then I started at it and I really enjoyed it. And I was like, well, let's do that. Now, do I think I'm going to be a teacher in like 30 years? I don't know. That's a weird question. That's a weird question.
You'd be like what, 50 in 20, 30?
Yeah.
At least in 5
Well,
years.
in 30 years? Yeah. I'd be 60,
Nah,
58.
In like 5 years.
But like, that's not even when you retire.
You're hitting 50 in like 3 years, right?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah.
Sure.
But like, yeah,
He's
you don't
right
even like, it's 30, like I think 30 years and I'll be 58 and that's not even when you retire. Like I still teach after
No,
that,
you still gone.
which is nuts, which is like a weird thing. But yeah, so that's like the practical idea
Right.
of why I started teaching. Okay, I enjoy these things. Like, let's try it out. And then I didn't have a black teacher until I was a junior in college. So like that was my first black teacher. He was a male. I only had 4 male teachers, I think, throughout like the years up to high school. And so I didn't see a lot of myself in school, and which kind of like, that's why I like sports more, because I had people that looked like me. I had coaches that kind of looked like me. I had kind of stronger male figures in that way. And so that I kind of was always drawn to that side. I felt like I learned a lot more about being a better human and stuff in that way. And then I got that teacher in college and I was like, oh, this guy's sick. Like, this is amazing what he's doing. And it was like it was by far my hardest class. It was an African-American literature class and he rolled us. Like, we had 5 essays in the semester and I had to rewrite every essay 4 times. I think I rewrote every essay 4 times because like I would get the first one back. He'd be like, garbage. This is a 58. And I'm like, okay. He's like, go rewrite it. And then I'd come back the next class and I'd be like, here it is. And he's like, okay, 70%, go rewrite it. 85%. And he's like, 85, cool, but go rewrite it. And then I'd rewrite it again and then get like a 96. But it made me like a lot better writer in one. Like I love writing, but like he made me a lot better writer. He made me understand literature a bunch more, which was sick. And then like he just made me appreciate constructive criticism because it wasn't like evil. Like he wasn't doing it because he was like this is fun to make this guy rewrite this essay. It was like, no, I know that you can write better, so go write better.
So it was kind of like an encouragement type of
like the constructive criticism was awesome. Like, and with sports, right? Like you got to learn how to take constructive criticism or else you're not going to make it.
It's just,
and so having that having it in school was like, that's like a first time that's happened to me. And it's mostly because I think I took it well because he looked like me and understood kind of who I was. And
you felt represented? Yeah.
So that was sick. And since then I was like, that's who I want to be. That's kind of like, I don't even remember his name. That's how bad. I feel terrible about that. But if you're listening to this, which you're probably not, but that doesn't matter.
Okay.
Shout out to you.
All right, buddy.
I'm just saying, I mean,
make
like
sure he finds it.
Yeah, we'll
figure it out.
I mean, how many black professors can there be at Wazoo still?
That's what I was
Just
saying.
send it
I've
to
only had
him.
one.
Just send
Like
it to him.
in Bellevue College, I only had one. So I only had 2 teachers. Well, professor, teacher, yada yada yada. You were my first black teacher, actually, which is surprising because it took 9 years.
Yeah. And I think Daniel and I can both agree on this that we consider you one of our leaders and someone that we look up to as one of the teachers at BSD.
No,
I'm not just saying that for the camera.
sugarcoating.
Not just saying that for the camera.
Okay. Yeah, they're
we
saying it for the
genuinely
camera.
appreciate.
No, but
You're actually the most fun.
in all seriousness, we consider you to be a great leader and fun because it's hard to make learning fun.
I mean, for Christ's sake, he's here right now. We invited him.
But
It's weird to invite your teacher to your podcast.
You're welcome.
And
You're welcome. But because you are a leader to us, you also are a leader to other people. And we know that you're a leader with the Black Student Union at Interlake. And so basically what pushed you to be that type of leader towards the other students, especially with the Black Student Union?
And what are you guys doing right now for your community?
What pushed me? I mean, I don't know if anything pushed me. I think being the only Black teacher there kind of did. Like, that was kind of the push itself, because it's like, well, I don't want like someone else to run it.
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't flourish like that. So I'll take over on that. And same thing with like race in the US. When I started teaching race in the US, you know, the other teacher was like, I think you'd be better suited for this. And I was like, well, maybe, yeah, probably. And so I took that on. And so, I mean, it's all, I think life did it. It sounds weird and like cliche to say, but my dad was a pastor. And so I was always in the limelight, and he was like a more controversial pastor. And so there was always a limelight on us, and there was always kind of like, he was known a lot of places and everywhere I went. And so with that, I kind of got used to having eyes on me in a lot of ways. And so that caused me to not shy away from limelight, I guess. And then also how to talk to people, how to be personable, connect with people that maybe you don't agree with or that don't come from the same background as you. We led like one of the largest multicultural churches here in Washington. So, or I think actually on the West Coast. And so those things like I think all of those things kind of conditioned me to be like, oh yeah, you know, teaching is not anything different from that. I think it helps that I'm Black. So, you know, I can relate to white students because that's the dominant culture.
Right.
And then I can relate to minority students because that's exactly what I experienced as well. And so I'm thankful for how I grew up. Did I love it when I was doing it? Not really. But in the end, I think it helped out quite a bit with who I am and how I teach. So
is there any events that the BSU is like plugging into, or like what do you guys do in a typical day?
Well, we only meet once every other week. When we go in, it's more of like a big community time, especially since COVID. Like, it kind of shut down over COVID, and this is like a revamping of it. And just it's kind of funny because like I asked the students when they first came in, there was probably 25 that showed up to our first meeting, or maybe 30. I was like, how many Black people do you think go to Interlake? And they're like, I don't know, like us. There's probably maybe 5 more that aren't here. And I'm like, there's like 70 like Black students like in Interlake.
Is that like an actual number? Like
yeah, I think it's 68. 69 or something like that. And like, but like you'll say, like I'll hear kids say things like, oh, I'm like one of like 15 of us. And it's like, not even close, bud. Like there's so many, not so many, obviously, in a school of 1,600, 68 is not a huge number.
Fill up a classroom.
But you could fill up 2 classrooms, right? Like that's 2 full classes. And so just getting that community of like, here's us, everybody has similar experiences. Everybody's going through the same things. Everyone has gripes about certain teachers or certain climate in schools. And so like, let's talk about it and let's kind of just chill. And so for that, that's kind of what we're doing. MLK Assembly we run. So we're planning next year's MLK Assembly in the next couple of meetings to get some actual events and performances coming to kind of amp up the MLK Day Assembly a little bit, because it's been, you know, come in, somebody talks in the front, you clap, you go back to class, move on. And it's like, well, no, Black culture is a lot more than that. So let's kind of show them
more
what
than
that
just
is.
an assembly.
Do you think that like, because obviously, do you think like the BSD does everything it can to support and provide for its Black students, in your opinion?
I think it does more than other school districts.
You think it does more?
I don't think, I mean, you know, like when you the education system in the United States overall is very much so like a one size like kind of fits all. Like we're trying to get the broadest kind of idea so that we can get as many kids through. Like, so what works for a majority, like the minority is going to have to kind of deal with it. And I don't think it's, I mean, obviously that gets back to institutionalized racism and like those types of things, but I don't think it's like a malicious. Like when you ask teachers like, oh, is school perfect? Like, no. But it's like, how do you fix it? Like, I'm not really sure. And then you talk like, oh, well, what about Sweden? And what about Switzerland? And what about the Netherlands? And it's like, well, they have really good school systems, but in their schools, like it's like 98% like white, their demographic. So it's like, if you're in Switzerland, it's like 98% Swiss. And like Sweden, it's 98% Swedes, right? And so like you go through that and you're like, okay, well, in the United States, we have like, I mean, I think Washington has the highest number. It's the most diverse. So the highest number of languages spoken, the most religions. And so with that, like you have so many different cultural backgrounds, how people learn, how they were taught as kids. And so like with that, like, how do you fit that in to make it perfect for everybody? And I don't know if it's even possible, honestly.
So I was gonna ask you, like, do you think it's like if there will ever be a time, do you think like it's gonna be like not a one size fits all, but like a time where we can, I guess like, where everyone feels included? Like we talk about everyone's, like we can talk about like Indian culture, talk about Korean culture, Mexican culture, German culture, and all that. Do you think there'll ever be a time where like everyone feels included, or do you think there's always going to be like it's never going to be like that?
I mean, in my hopes, yes, right. In my hopes, I'm like, yes, I hope that we get to a place where we can do that. Numbers wise, I don't know, because I mean, teaching is kind of I wouldn't say dying, right? Because it's not dying. Teachers are like still around and we still have it. But like teachers are leaving education in like droves. Like I can't do this anymore. I'm burnt out. They're asking me too much or for too much from me. There's too many kids, right? Our population isn't growing at an exponential rate, right? In the United States. Oh, do you remember this from class? What stage are we in the demographic transition model?
I barely remember.
What stage are we?
Are we in 5 now?
No.
We're in 4.
No. We're in 4.
Okay.
Right. So we're still in 4. So
actually,
like our population's not growing, but it's like
if I search it up right now. Watch.
Right, here we go.
We're gonna search this up right now.
Here we go.
Stage of demographic is the United States?
Are you doing this right now?
Yep.
Yeah,
Are you actually?
I will. Yeah.
Okay.
Stage of the
I guess
United
while he's
States.
It might say 5 because they do go to stage 6, I think.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
So he switched.
The one that we use is 5 stages, but
isn't Japan in the one in stage 6?
stage 5.
Stage 5. Who's the one in 6 again?
None.
No.
Well, with the one that we use.
Oh, okay.
With the one that we use.
I guess while he's doing that, I guess
because they use a stage 0, or their stage 1 is
0.
like, oh, it's not a country. It's like, but anyways,
I'll
doesn't matter. Anyways, but like, you know, like we're not really growing, but our population is getting larger. There's like kids and things like that, and so
more diverse.
As teachers leave, there's not the manpower, and also like there's not a lot of people that want to go. Like it's not a very pulling job to me. Like, oh, I really want to be a teacher, because it's like I get paid good. Like I don't get paid bad.
Benefits are pretty good too, no?
What?
Your benefits?
My benefits are good too, right? But it's a long-term thing, right? Like most of my money doesn't come until retirement, right? When I put in like 40 or 30 years of teaching and like kind of done that. And so with that, it's, it's hard. It's a hard sell, right? Kids are in school and you're like, you want to be a teacher? And they're like, why would I want to come back here?
Exactly.
Like I already don't like being here right now. And so like, it's like a harder sell.
Do you not like teaching?
I love teaching.
I
love teaching. Do I love it every single day?
Do
Do I love it every single day and every minute of the day?
No, I can tell.
Right?
I was in your class.
Like there's some kids that irritate me. There's like gradings not tight. There's meetings that I don't enjoy, that I feel like this could be an email. But you have a bunch of it. Like there's professional development that I think in some ways is good, but like why am I as the black teacher also going to these like how to teach minorities? And it's like I think I know, but it's mandatory and then I gotta go.
Yeah.
Right. But I also think some teachers of color are also out of touch a little bit. So I wouldn't say like if you're a teacher of color, you're great, you're perfect.
Would you say like whitewash? Would you say like something like that?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, you could have like whitewash, but I mean, some people like even if you grow up around your culture, right? Like that's one culture.
Not everyone.
And so once you go into the classroom, like you might not actually be like really, really good with other cultures. I think it helps being a minority, right? Where you're like, I understand being marginalized, and so like therefore I can help with others. But
did you ever grow up with racism growing? Like, have you ever experienced racism growing up?
Yeah, I mean, I did. Yeah, like I would say it's more. I more had microaggressions. I had my neighbor actually, when we were growing up, was super racist.
Really?
Like super racist.
Wow. You want to
yeah. I won't say his name, but he lived across from us. We lived out in the sticks, like way out in like Fall City.
Yeah, that'll do it.
And grew up on 6.5 acres. My dad had a farm. Didn't make any money, but he had a farm. Goats and chickens and llamas and horses and dogs and I don't know why, but we did. And so like I grew up with kind of like a farm boy overall. And this next door neighbor, like he hated my parents because my mom was white and he was black. And he did not agree with my mom for marrying a black man. And he didn't like my dad because he was black. And so like we would get like the cops called in us all the time, and like the sheriff would come out and like be like, "What are y'all doing?" I crashed my ATV in front of him one time. Like he was like out clipping these trees, and the axle ripped off of my ATV, and I flew over the handlebars. And I was like 13.
Yeah.
And he like looked at me, and I remember looking up at him, and I was like bloody, and he just turned around and just walked off, and like just like kind of left. And so like there's like things like that. And I went to Fall City Elementary. I went to Chief Cana Middle School, Mount Si High School. And it's like, when our kids say like, oh, I'm one of like, no, like I was legitimately like one of 4 in my elementary school. I was one of 4 in my middle school. And I was one of 8 in my high school of 1,700. And so that was like, you go up Hicktown. When I was there, at least. Now it's getting kind of gentrified, and you have like a lot more people coming in.
But Fall City was like mostly just like white.
Oh, it's like all white.
All white.
All white. And so it's kind of like, you know, like, oh no, these teachers don't like me, and you get tokenized a bunch, right? Like you're the black kid. How do you feel? How do the black people feel about this? And you're like, bro, I'm just like one, and I grew up like 20 minutes down the road.
Yeah.
Like, so I had like those types of racist kind of encounters. My dad had like just straight racist, because he grew up in Anniston, Alabama in the 50s.
Oh,
so
that's
like he had like like some like bad stuff. And so like through him, I got lessons from him, right? Like the idea, my parents always used to tell me, like, when you get pulled over, like the cop does not see you the same as your friends from outside. Like, and remember that, like you have to act different. When we go into the store, like you have to act because eyes are on us and they think that you're going to do something. There's a quote that I remember, and my dad was always joking, but it was always like, you know, like with a serious undertone to it of like, act your age, not your color. And it's like those things kind of ingrain in you as you go through. And in some ways I was like, well, maybe like, should you tell a child that? Maybe not, but also it's really dangerous not to.
Yeah. Because you need to,
because they got, you got to know, right? If you go out, like I'm not actually like, if I'm walking down the street and there's 3 white women in front of me, I give way more distance than is needed, because not because I think that they're like racist and they're going to call the cops on me, but also like culturally what we're taught, kind of culturally the judgments that are kind of there. And so with that, right, like I'm hyper aware of it, right? Oh, I'm walking down the street, and like I was in college and 2 girls were walking towards me, and it was like getting darker out, and they saw me and they crossed the street.
Right.
They walked past and then they crossed the street back. And it's like, you know, like, okay, like we're in Pullman, Washington.
Right.
I didn't think that I would be seen that way, but like, it's like kind of weird, like reminders like that where.
Did it bother you?
No, I wouldn't say bothered. Did I want it to happen? No. But you kind of get accustomed to it, I guess is the word for it. You get used to it a little bit, which seems bad, but like I don't take things as personally as I might have, like when I was in high school. Like I got in fights in high school because of it, and things like that. I don't really get in fights anymore. I don't get in fights anymore. Haven't gotten into fights since college.
You want to start one right now?
Oh,
I would love to fight you.
I don't.
Well, you were talking about that, and most recently, I recall last fall at the Crossroads Cup, there were fireworks that went off in the stands, in the home stands at Interlake, and
sorry, I'm not supposed to laugh at that. Serious.
You can. You honestly can. No one got hurt.
No one got
but
hurt.
A lot
From
of people.
The fireworks.
A lot of people did get really scared, and there is a rule on the football field that no backpacks are allowed, but a lot of kids did bring backpacks in.
Yeah.
And the only people that were getting searched with backpacks were black kids, Mexican kids, while there were white kids with backpacks that were just walking past the
bleachers stand,
the faculty that were there. And so What is your take on that sort of thing?
Not surprised.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it happened to me when I was in college as well. Like those types of things, right? Like, oh, we're going into a football game, we're carrying things that they don't want us to bring in, right? Oh, let me give it to my white friend because every single game he walks through, and then I get stopped and I get patted down.
Interesting.
And then we go in.
And it works like every time?
Every time.
Wow.
Jeez.
Without fail. Without fail.
Used it to your advantage.
Yeah. No.
I guess that's one way to look at it.
Yeah.
So, you know, not surprised. Does it make me sad? Absolutely. Right. Do I think that no one should get their bag searched? No. I think everyone should probably get their bag searched when they're coming into.
Because you never know what they're gonna bring.
No.
Yeah, exactly. But
also
the picking and choosing. Picking and choosing.
If you're gonna search one, you gotta search them all.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's fair.
Well, I think no backpacks in the stadium should have been implied.
Yeah, that's probably a good one.
Because it's stated right outside the stadium there, no bags allowed. But y'all come in, you're allowed.
We gotta get everybody into the Crossroads Cup to pack the stands. We can't turn people around.
I can.
You're off the clock. Calm down.
We can't turn people
around. Well, I guess still on the topic of like school. I mean, I guess when you're on the clock, do you feel like that you as a person of color, do you think you have to work a little bit harder than your peers, or do you think it's just like for you it's different?
It's different. It's different. I don't think I have to work harder.
Right.
Because I don't. Like for me, I had a bunch of conversations with some other teachers because I don't take work home. Right. Like once I'm done at school, like turns 3:30 or 4, like I'll stay until maybe 4:30 sometimes, depending on what's going on or like I have things to do. Like I don't take work home. Like I have a very solid like, nope, this is like no longer school.
It's like a me
like
time.
I'm moving on. And I think that's just personality, right? Like I don't like to make my work my life. I have a life outside and I do a lot of stuff. I have friends and like I don't.
You do?
Yeah, surprisingly.
Oh, okay.
Last time
and I don't want to like bring that back because that's like depressing. And every teacher that does, they're always complaining about how they're working all the time. And it's like, well, just don't. Right? Like I'll tell kids like, oh, did you get that grade? I'm like, no. I'll get it graded maybe next week. Like come back and see me on Wednesday.
It's your time.
You know, like I get paid 7:30 to 3:30. Will I go above and beyond here and there? Yeah, absolutely. Right. I love what I do. And like the things that I need to get done, I get done. But it's also a job. Right. It's like also a job. But as a Black person, I don't think I work harder. I think I act different when I'm at work. Like I put on it's different from like a professional face. Like there's, you know, you put on a professional face. Yeah. You need to be this way. And like, this is what teachers are kind of like. There's social kind of standards when it comes to like your jobs that you do, depending on the job itself. But I have to like censor myself, right? For the first like 3 years that I taught, like I always put my hair up because that looked more professional. I dressed a little bit nicer because that looked professional. I changed my lingo and like changed my slang because that was a little bit more professional. But I did it everywhere. Right. Like that's not just like specific to school. When I was in high school and middle school, I did the same thing. When I went to college, it was the same thing. When I talked in front of media, it was the same thing. When I did a job interview, same thing. When I worked at Costco, it was the same thing. And so that's kind of where it's like, it's different. It's not different, but it's different because my culture is not the main culture. And so therefore I need to fit into this culture. And I think slowly I've let that go a little bit, like with the way I dress, like, this is what I wear.
You literally have the Costco shirt.
That's the freshest
right
fit.
there.
I don't back Costco though. I don't like Costco.
What?
I haven't gone into Costco since I worked at Costco, except for Costco gas.
You should like do like a.
I make my wife go.
Like what they do in Naruto. You should like cross it out.
Oh yeah, just like.
But I like it. It's fire.
It is a fire sweater.
It's fire. So I don't hate Costco, the company. I hate Costco, the members, the people that shop at Costco. They're the worst. They're the worst.
Well, Hutcherson, you carry yourself with such confidence, and we appreciate you coming on this podcast with us. Is there any advice that you could tell the audience, anybody that potentially lacks confidence with their skin color or anything especially with the experiences you've had to deal with, is there any advice that you can give to anybody that like lacks that type of confidence that you have?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's specific to skin colors. This is everybody. But I was told when I was younger, don't worry so much about your own things that you're self-conscious about,
Right.
because every single human that you come into contact is self-conscious about something. Mm-hmm. And so everybody, like, no matter how confident they are, there's things that like they're like, ooh, like I need to hide this, which I think is what really takes away from confidence. And so once you figure that out, no matter who you talk to, how powerful that person that you're talking to is, how low the person that you're talking to is, like we're all kind of dealing with these insecurities that we have. Mm-hmm. And then it makes the like playing field level, right? So you never talk down to anybody and you never talk up to anybody. I try not to talk down to anybody in my classroom.
Right.
It's like, because we're all even, right? We're all humans. Obviously, I have a little bit more experience than the kids that are in my classes, but overall, like we're all dealing with, no matter how young you are or old you are, you're all dealing with insecurities. You could probably talk to like a 70-year-old and be like, what are your insecurities? And they probably can list off a couple things, right? So it never goes away. And so learning to live with it and kind of use that is like the key.
That's probably the reason why you're my favorite teacher, just because I feel like with you, I can kind of be myself. I can talk to you as if you're a person. Are you higher than me? Technically, yes, because you're my teacher. You know more about the subject than I do. But you don't wave it in my face. Like, I know you're like the expert, if you would call it that. But I feel comfortable talking to you, normally as if like a friend, if you would. I mean, I don't know what else to describe it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the goal.
And like,
that's the goal.
And I think every other one else, I mean, I think Jack can agree. Everyone appreciates that.
Well, I'm glad it works. I mean, that's the idea behind it.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's always good to hear that it's actually, working out a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Hutcherson, we just have one last question.
This is probably the most
serious
one. This is
you may want to skip it. That's how bad it is. I mean, it's so important. Jack, I'm going to let you do the honors.
Who's running that goddamn fan page?
Who's running the fan page?
Don't worry about that.
Who's running the fan page?
Don't worry about that.
Who's running the fan page?
Don't worry about that.
We know what goes on. We saw the most recent. We saw day 29. We know what happened.
What's day 29? Oh no, that wasn't the last one.
Oh, it was.
You're not up to code with it.
Wow, classic. You didn't do your research?
No.
The last one that I did was I was holding a table over my head. Hutchie appreciation, all the followers out there. Follow me.
hey, yo.
All right, buddy. We don't even plug ourselves.
Master Hutcherson on Instagram, you know what I'm saying? You can find me there.
This is a freebie. This is a freebie.
Hey, you know what I'm saying? If you're going to dangle it in front of me and ask about it.
We will.
Yeah, no, I'm not answering that. You don't get to know.
But I have seen one specific little lad with glasses on there quite a bit.
There's a lot of students in my class.
Oh,
who wear glasses.
That wears glasses on Hutchie Appreciation?
What?
He's
like, there's a lot of students on that page.
Every photo.
Okay.
Who's in every photo?
I don't know.
I'm in every photo.
You are in every photo.
You're
the main subject.
There's a couple.
You're the topic.
It's a couple days where it's just this.
I feel like there's a trending topic there. Me.
Well, it is about
here on Hutchie Appreciation. On my own Instagram page. Master Hutcherson.
Sorry. We can always edit that out and just bleep in our Instagram. We can bleep in our Instagram.
I'm not gonna plug in my Instagram.
We're gonna bleep in our Instagram just to cover. No, we probably won't.
Okay. Well,
you're welcome.
We're gonna go ahead and wrap up the episode. Hutcherson, before we do sign off, I want to ask: is there anything that you want to add before we wrap up? Like anything at all?
Anything I want to add?
Anything. Except for your Instagram. I swear if you add your Instagram.
I wouldn't do that.
You can add your Facebook? Your MySpace?
Oh. Okay.
No, I'm just, it's awesome, right? I'm glad that you're doing this. I think it's sick that you have found something that you're like, I want to keep doing this and like continue to do this. I think that's where like beautiful starts happen, right? Like, I don't know, we're just kind of messing around and then it gets a little bit more serious and all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, like, we're actually doing this.
Yeah.
And so I think this is sick. You should keep doing it. You should keep doing it.
Thank you.
Invite me back one more time at least.
Hell yeah.
Usually when you're
after
bigger,
we graduate,
once you're bigger and like, you know what I'm saying, like 1 million followers or something like that, invite me back and then I'll really go out and be like, I'm not just going to tell them about my Instagram. I'll tell them about my podcast.
We have,
we have
this is just
really
a
German chocolate.
German chocolate. Is that
German Chocolate Studios.
German Chocolate Studios.
You feel me? You feel me?
God.
But yeah, just stay consistent. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Don't stop.
We will not. And you better not stop too. I swear I'm going to be the first follower on your
Always gotta keep going.
I'll be your first like on your podcast.
Master
Well,
Hutcherson, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, God.
Well, thank you, Mr. Hutcherson, for coming on the podcast. Again, we appreciate you taking your time to come out here and answering our questions and joking around with us, but also being serious. I think, you being here with your narcissistic, selfless self, we love that. So thank you.
Yeah, no
Jack,
problem.
You got any one thing you want to say before we sign off?
Thanks for being you.
Well, everyone, this has been the Heated Podcast brought to you by GZ Radio. And always remember, Si Se Puede.
Yes, we can.